What's up, Internet? Back at it again with more black gun shit. This time, I want to talk to, actual carrying of the gun mindset behind it and some things that I don't feel get enough consideration. And when I say consideration, I mean forethought, but also the thinking doesn't evolve into a functional working knowledge versus just something that you keep in the back of your head as a reference, something that's applied versus something that is learned once. And before I get into it, again, I'm nobody's gun expert, okay? And first and foremost, welcome. All right, that's why I'm making these videos. I've been trying to get more and more black people just by virtue of association into guns for years. And now, by necessity, just from social climate, just from people waking up, seeing what is really going on in this country and where we stand, and the need for black people, especially, to get armed. Historically, we vote Democrat, and one of the main Democrat party lines is gun control. And if you can't see that, how that's against our interests, that's a whole nother video entirely. But I'm not speaking to you because those of you who are watching this, that's not applying, at least for right now. Who knows what's going to happen when Biden comes? If he wins, then a lot of you probably will never pick up your gun again. We might even sell it and think everything is hunky dory again. I caution you against that, but again, another video. But again, the tone of this video for some who are new to this and who don't know me, obviously, it may seem critical. It may seem condescending. It may seem like somebody who's wagging their finger at you that you should know better. I'm better than you and wake up. No, that's not my intent because, again, not only am I nobody's gun expert, I want you to stay. And the only reason I'm taking my time is that this is things that are critical to being a responsible gun owner, a responsible carrier of a firearm. And not only that, these are mistakes that in some way, either exactly what I'm describing or, some alteration of it to some degree of severity, I've committed these same mistakes, either in actions and thinking. And I'm lucky that nothing bad happened. I don't want you guys relying on luck. Okay. But with that, these aren't suggestions. All right. You really need to get this into your head. And there's no way for me to do this with sugarcoating it. All right. A lot of you have not thought about getting the gun past shooting at the range and carrying it and then waiting for your moment to use it. There was an episode of The Simpsons when Homer got a gun and then he was doing everything with the gun. He turned on the TV, he was changing the channels, shooting at it, which obviously is a cartoon. But that's the same mentality. You get your gun and you're like, oh wait, who can I shoot now? And that should seem eerily familiar to some of the people we see in the news. Why we're here, okay? There are three main areas that should always be at the forefront of your mind when not only carrying the weapon, but should you have to use it, all right? The legal aspects of it, the ethical implications of it, and the moral implications of it. This video is going to focus on the legal just because it's the simplest in concept to grasp, but it's also one that is left up to assumptions. And because Dave Chappelle had a skit about how every black man is a qualified paralegal, and a lot of that is just stuff we hear from other people, and the devil is in the details, especially in the law. One word changes if a statute applies or whatnot, and how much time you are looking at in jail should you run afoul of any sort of penal code. With that said, you have to know the law behind being an armed citizen. Not just in your house, and whether or not there's something called a castle doctrine, look it up. I'm not getting into it right now. But if you're going to carry outside of your domain, you need to know all the laws that apply to you and all the laws you could be potentially breaking, even if you never pull your gun. Just by virtue of what you do every day and you think it's normal because you're not hurting anybody, you're concealed carrying, are you breaking the law? Because there are still laws that apply to you. And just because you don't know does not excuse you from them. We all say, you see these cops out here who are supposed to know the law, but a lot of them don't. They go through whatever varying academy that they go to for anywhere from 2 to 4 months, whatever it is, and suddenly they know the law. But we all know that's BS because we send lawyers to law school for years, and then we make them take a bar exam. But these cops supposedly know all the laws. They don't, and that's why cops often make stuff up, either out of their own ignorance or because cops are allowed to lie to you to make you incriminate yourself. So who knows if it's good faith or not. The point is, you can't afford that. You need to know every law. It starts with looking up the specific statutes in your state, and it's as simple as a Google search. We live in the modern age. Look up all the laws concerning a concealed carry permit. permit in your state. Sometimes they change by county. They're called. You can look up ordinances to see which ones are there. And then, if you want to take, and I want to say take it a step further. Look at all the crime penal codes that could apply to any sort of firearm. Obviously, you know robbing a bank is wrong, but look at what amplifies a certain charge. Look what the difference between committing a felony while in possession of a firearm, stuff like that. Things like brandishing. You can Google brandishing and see what the Webster's definition of it is, but that's a very legal term that is put in the penal codes, and every state defines brandishing differently. Some places it's if you take the gun out and wave it at somebody. Some places, even though you're concealed carry, if they can see it because you lean over and your shirt comes up, you can get charged with brandishing. You need to know brandishing. You need to know every little minutia of where you are. And not only that, you need to know the laws of places that you may incidentally end up being. You need to know if your concealed carry permit has what's called reciprocity, meaning that another state honors your permit and you don't have to get a concealed carry permit in multiple states, which oftentimes is impossible because they want you to be a resident of their state. Some states honor other states' permits, some states don't. That's on you to know. And then just because, let's say you did all your due diligence and you knew today that all the laws that apply to you and you're in compliance, they change. How often do they change? They can change as often as every 6 months. They don't need no act of Congress or no state legislature. There can be an emergency order. It's on you to stay up on these things. And there's tons of resources online. You can Google them. Just Google your state laws. I set myself an alarm. At least I did when I was carrying. I'm in Maryland right now. I can't carry. So, but especially if I know I'm going somewhere where I can carry and I decide to take my gun, I check the laws to see if my permit, my concealed carry permit, is still valid in that state, to see what the rules are as far as transporting it in the weapon in the car while loaded, because that is my responsibility. And likewise, you need to know what legal statutes there are, what burden you have before you can actually employ your weapon in a situation. Okay, I made this video because originally what I was going to do, we all saw that video of the white people in the car trying to leave. Evidently they had bumped some black woman at some point, or her kids, and it became an altercation. The white woman got out and waved the gun at them. And you know, I was going to do a reaction video with the video next to me and say, oh, this is what happened here, this is where that should, and you know what, it's counterproductive. One, because at the end of the series, it should become so blatantly obvious how all the way in the wrong the armed parties were in this. I don't care what the black people did, and I'm not saying they were right, but as wrong as they could have been, nothing they did warranted the use of deadly force or even the implication of deadly force. Those concealed carry permit owners were all the way wrong and rightfully charged, and they're facing jail. They should lose their privilege to conceal carry, because that's what it's come down to. Never mind the Second Amendment. They should be jailed and they should not be allowed to own firearms, because that's a felony for a reason. I'm 100% confident that had that been a black man instead of a woman that she was holding that gun on, he'd be dead right now, and this would be a whole different conversation. Whatever. All right. If you know all the laws and you're just waiting, because and that's what I find with a lot of the black people, specifically the ones who are defending the people in that video for pulling a weapon, this we all know what we say, wishing it would syndrome, or waiting for just waiting for something to pop up. That is going to get you hurt, killed, or in jail. Okay, like, the weapon is only to be used if your life is in danger. Okay, and part of this comes from, and I've been in some of the concealed carry classes where they tell you there's people, a lot of times these are old cops, either retired or otherwise, who tell you, well, look, if you're going to pull it, you got to shoot them. No, what the intent behind that is, you need to be prepared to use deadly force, because you're not supposed to use your gun to win an argument, to enforce a threat, to scare people. Your gun is supposed to be used to defend your life. So that's what it's meant when don't pull it unless you're ready to use it. But that doesn't mean that if you pull it, you have to shoot somebody. That is not how that works. Imagine if every time a cop or a military person pulled their gun and didn't shoot somebody, they got in trouble. That's not how that works. But y'all got to get that out of your mind. Because the difference is, we've seen it, and that's why we're here. If a cop does it, even if he's wrong, guess what? He's a cop. He's got qualified immunity. He's going to get a GoFundMe. He's got a union rep, a high-priced union lawyer. The department is behind him, no matter how foul he is. Do you have that? No, you don't. And even in a righteous shoot, a righteous self-defense situation, you're going to jail. maybe you get released that night, but you're going to have to go through the legal process. They just like when an ME looks at a body that has been the victim or has been died by other natural causes, they rule it a homicide until they can rule out intent, because it means they were killed. Whether or not they were killed maliciously is something totally different. Somebody was killed, and there has to be an investigation. And during that investigation, you may have to defend yourself. And if you think, people give more legal consideration to driving, which is a privilege. All right, you get your learner's permit, and do we just let people drive? No, we make them go to driving school. We make them hold it for X amount of months without an accident and stuff like that. And then they have to go take their test. You can't do that with concealed carry and firearms, because that means that from the time that you get your gun, you have to go get into situations that involve your gun. If you're lucky and if you're blessed, you can carry the weapon and never have to use it, which is the goal. But should you have to use it, you need to use it. Versus driving, you're out with motorists every day. Every day. And while you're not intending to hit somebody, stuff happens. Imagine what would happen if we just gave people licenses because they passed the test and they sat through a class or two on what not to do. They still haven't employed the practices. It hasn't become second nature to them for them to be good drivers, and now they are a danger to the public. That's what you're doing, but with a gun. All right? We got to get out of this assumption based, that's what I heard, and this, because you're going to become nothing more than the cops that we can't stand without any of the resources. That's my time. I'll get into the ethics and morality at a later time. If you have any questions about that, if you want me to go a deeper dive into this, by all means, you can hit me in the comments. Email me at AskAEpps@gmail.com. And also, consider insurance. I'm not going to sit here and promote a brand because I don't have one, but the only reason I don't have one is because I don't actively carry it in Maryland. If I did, I would absolutely have insurance. They're out there. You can Google them. And it's a necessity if you're going to be carrying, especially if you're just waiting to pull your gun out. Have a good one.